These are the adventures of a temporarily out of work wife and mother, and this is our DIY downstairs makeover project, working on the cabinets. And all these cabinets probably took the entire 3 weeks because everything had to be done in stages. First, all of the cabinet frames had to be sanded, all of the doors had to be sanded on both sides. Then the frames had to be stained and a coat of poly added. That same process had to be repeated on each side of the doors. Then they had to be lightly sanded, the stain touched up, and a second coat of poly. The frames we left with 2 coats and some light touch-ups, but the doors got 3 coats on each side. And the same thing for the drawers. I also had to drill holes for the new door handles for both the doors and the drawers and the fake drawer above the sink. Every cabinet in our house has been naked and just like the builders installed it when we bought it 20 years ago. The door handle kit came with adjustable screws, so all you needed to do was take 2 pliers at 90-degree angles and bend and break the screws at the point where you needed it to make the screw the length that you needed it to be. To get the right length, I had to measure each door and the drawer faces at their full depth because each drawer had a wood face and then a plastic liner, and I needed to go through the drawer face and the plastic liner. So in order to get that right, I measured each door, found the midpoint. I measured the actual door handles themselves, found the screw holes, and the midpoint for the door handles. So with the handle holes and the midpoint marked on the painter's tape and the midpoint marked on the doors and the drawers, I was able to align the painter's tape to the midpoint of the doors and drawers. Because the painter's tape stretches a little every time you remove it and reapply it, some of the holes were a little off. The ones that were markedly off and required a brand new hole, I drilled a new hole, filled the old hole with wood filler, stained and polyed it. And the ones that were only slightly off, I just made the hole a little bigger. Since it's not visible to the naked eye, no harm, no foul. Now here I am showing the process of sanding and liquid sanding each door. This process was repeated on each side of each door, and here I'm showing the process for one full door before moving on to the next doors, which is of course redacted. There were 13 doors in all, and they were all different sizes. When I removed the doors, I did tag each door with a small piece of painter's tape numbered to match the cabinet to make sure that I did not have to drill new holes in order to hang those doors back up. I could hang them at the same cabinet that they were on previously. Now, some of the doors required some extra work. I had to scrape them with the putty knife because they had a pretty thick layer of grease, as well as remove the door stops. We did apply new door stops, and I did have to repair a few holes, and this is me using that hole filler. And this is all of those doors, all lined up, stained and polished, just beautiful. Then I had my noonie to clean out all of the cabinets. She pretty much wiped down everything with Zep, and then we washed the dishes after they were wiped down with the Zep with regular dish detergent so that people weren't eating poison chemicals. And of course, I measured out the shelf liners. Initially, I used the tape measure, and then I got smart and just took the shelves out and used the shelves to measure and cut those shelf liners. I worked on each door in the garage, including the staining and poly process. And again, those doors were poly 3 times, which required sanding, touching up the stain, and then repeating the poly coat, which required 2 hours dry time between coats. And of course, that had to be done on each side. So we're talking about at least 18 hours of work just on the doors. We reinstalled the doors after the second sand, and then I touched up the stain and polyed them while they were hanging in place. I did the inside first and left the doors open all night, and then I came back the next morning and stained and did that third coat of poly on the outside. We let that dry, and then my sunshine installed those door handles. I also went back and used lacquer thinner to clean up any stain or poly that I got on the shelves or inside the drawers. Baby, that lady's son that I married complained for the whole period of time that it took for those doors to get put back on. He was obsessed with it.